Dear sisters, Venerable sisters and Dhamma friends, as everyone knows, now we are going to start the common interviews. So we'll start with the written questions. Meanwhile, I already invite if there are any further comments or statements or questions, that's also welcome. But we'll start the session with written questions. Sunil will read the question.
Most Venerable Sir, I do Anapanasati meditation under your instructions, which I have followed for the past 7 years. During the first few years, when the breath disappeared completely, I used to experience the elements in a big way. There was tightness of the body, feeling of heat, and also sweating on the face and excretion of saliva. Also sometimes there was swaying of the body and movements of the chin. I continued regular meditation, and also I had the opportunity to ask questions from you regularly. Now all these reactions gradually lessened, and I have slight tightness of the body and very slight sweating on the face only on some occasions. I came to the stage of the complete disappearance of breath in every sitting and can stay on for a long time with the mind at the place where the breath touched on the tip of the right of left nostril. I humbly ask your guidance to know whether my meditation is going on the correct track or not.
I think everyone who can listen can give a fair judgment on the statement. So, therefore, whenever the mind becomes at peace and find the solitude and the peace of mind, so this is being recognized as lessening of the defilements, and one has to understand it is not without a discipline. It is not without a systematic training. So this indicates, but yet another aspect which has not been mentioned in the paper statement, I would like to draw attention. That is to understand with this kind of meditative or technical progress, what is the difference between day-to-day verbal behavior, physical behavior, and attitude towards your livelihood. If that is also refining, that will give a broader, well-established foundation for this growth to continue. So that one has to think from the broad aspects. And when and where the mind and the Sammaditya and Samma Sankappa, the broader viewpoint and the good contemplation and the thoughts arising, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammata, Samma Ajiva has to follow. Because such a person can have a complete reappraisal of one's own life as towards the talking. Is my talking is true to type, benevolent, beneficial, and likings to the other people, and so more and more you towards Satyato, Thetato, Paranuddayata, that means must be true. You are expressing without any exaggeration, with the benefit of the others, and others also ready to accept. And there also you have to mark time. So these are the words you have to think about. So it is from all the gossiping, all the harsh words, all the false kind of talks. You have to refine further and further. And as far as the actions are concerned, one has to understand we are not from the Kingsley family. We are not from the royal family, so we have to earn our livelihood. But don't yourself make too much of busy in order to cater for this consumerization, for these luxuries. They are cancers. You must understand the utility value. Do it for the utility value. Invest the balance for the solitude. Invest the balance for your peace of mind and the freedom. Your dear and near one may not be happy, because they wanted to have all the kind of luxuries and kind of thing. Even you are ready to tighten your belts. Don't expect that from your dear and near ones. So therefore, don't try to teach them anything. Just show you the Arapirimesma, how to thrifty. I thought thrifty is a kunukama. Austerity. So now the world economy is going to learn from Schumacher. Small is beautiful, appropriate technology, and Buddhist economics this is. So there you have to reduce the activities just to keep yourself warm, fed, clothed, and shelter. And the livelihood must be not to disturb others, not to disturb any psychology. And we can't live without, because we are in the survival of the fittest theory. So more you live, more you disturbance to the others. So you have to die quickly. Say tata and go. Or otherwise, if we are living, make sure no intentional burden to the others. Of course, we are burdened to the nature. We are burdened to all the others. We feel we are the people making others happy and we are the people learning kind of things. All are just excuses. But you have to understand that you have to leave frictional path and don't plan any kind of poking fingers into the other psychologies. If someone come and ask, give at most you can. But let the sleeping tigers to sleep. Don't try to arouse them. And that must be your way of life or livelihood. And these things, I think we live on this earth 30 years, 40 years, 60 years and kind of thing. That is enough for us to understand. What does it mean by the correct speech, correct activities and correct livelihood. So don't try to tighten the belts very fast. Then you are creating turmoils to the dear and near one. Slowly, let it happen, because now with this mentality, you can reappraise. You have to rethink, reschedule your life, because your peace of mind is fairly assured now. You know how to go into that. And it didn't depend on the materiality. It did not depend on the phrasing of the other people, not the fame, gain and kind of thing. You know it is internal and try to shape it up. And then when they come in harmony with, it is a kind of a melody. It's a kind of a aesthetic life. And that you must feel. And that I would say internal and external balance. So that particular person immediately going to feel it. Others also will see our living is not a burden to someone. So therefore, rather than this technical part, rather than our concentration, mindfulness and so-called the technical side, it must have kind of a good vibration to the others, and that harmony take long time, but it is a kind of a success story. It's a kind of a good novel. It's a kind of a good aesthetic poem. It is a kind of a good classic thing one to understand. So try to balance it. Okay, we'll go to the second.
Venerable Sir, I want to thank you for providing me very valuable instructions to improve my meditation practice. During the first couple of days in this retreat, I noticed that my mind was so much wandering. As for your instructions, I tried to observe the nature of mind without getting frustrated. I kept changing the posture very often while sitting meditation. On the third day, yesterday, I was able to settle down and able to sit over and meditate without moving. During the period, I was able to watch my incoming and outgoing breath clarity. I was watching and focusing on the tip of my nose and was able to experience cold air coming in and warm air going out. Once this went on for a while, 10 to 15 minutes, I noticed that I was in a very peaceful state as mind, although my body was in pain, back pain, leg pain, etc. It did not bother me. I felt like my physical body was frozen. I was able to stay in this state of mind, state for a while, about half an hour. The first time when I experienced this, I was scared and then I lost it. Now when I am there, I stay there and observe the objects / things as they are and enjoy it. But I am aware not to attach to them as it will change, as it will change. Also, I do not know what the next stage is. I just keep observing whatever it is. Venerable Sir, I am not good at explaining my experience. I hope you understand this. Please excuse me if my explanation is not clear with metta.
Sunil is clear today, therefore we can understand the message. You understand the clarity? In you speaking? How to speak to the mic? So therefore it's easy. So this is, when I listening, what I thought was, every day is not a Christmas day. These things also happen, and again everything go for chaos, finished, scattered, and you feel like committing suicide. Never mind. But more and more you go there, you get a charge, you get immunity, you get the resistance, and you understand, more you follow the process, more and more you feel the comfort zone. At the beginning, it's a lot of ups and downs, spikes. It is not your personal mistake. It is not something special for you. Everyone is the same. But the thing is persistence, the endurance, the continuity. When you continue, this all the childish nature of the wave will settle down and maturity will come. For that, the time is the matter. The time will decide. So much so you must have the patience. For at the beginning you attribute it to the faith. Later you can reason it out. At the end you can be hilariously say how nice I was in this difficult part. Somehow the other I managed to continue. So by that time it is too late. The most difficult, most dramatic part is the early part. And 99% drop off. They can't comprehend why should I invest so much of patience and endurance, because it is painfully slow at the beginning. Gathering of the momentum is very slow. Once you learn the art, the way it is gathering, ultimately you attribute to the Dhamma, cause and effect. And you have get a free ride, or chauffeur-driven car, or autopiloting. Then onward, you understand and you you feel homely, familiarize Dhamma. So then onward, of course, the meditative life is not so dramatic. Early part is the best. In Sinhala it is called Vangu Vangu Galana Kotai Ganga Kalasana. Side dekem balana kotai oya lassana. Bus එක ගහලා දෙන්න. බස් එක පිටිපස්සේ ගහලා දෙන්න. වංගු වංගු ගන්න කොටයි ගඟක ලස්සන සයිඩ් එකෙන් බලන කොටයි ඔයා ලස්සන කියලා. So when the meditation going to look at the face to face, it is very boring. But at the beginning you can see from this angle, it's very dramatic.
Dear Venerable Sir, these last 2 days have not been payday, and my practice was difficult, much prapanchika or mind wandering. Therefore today I went back to basics and managed to stay with the breath only by counting the breaths, not in and out. This way, each time the mind wandered, I was able to bring it back in for 2 seconds. It is acceptable. Please advise. Much merit to you.
So this is called the beginner's mind. You have to learn the beginner's mind. There's a very nice book, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind by Suzuki. He learned the art from the Theravada and is teaching with the same thing to the Mahayana or the Zen Buddhist. But he has got the idea so quickly, so precisely. He says, daily assume you like a newly born baby. You are learning how to breathe. That's it. And try to feel each and every breath as much as possible. Let the thoughts happen, no problem. Let the pain happen, no problem. Let the sounds happen, don't worry. Midst of everything, again give a new start. Once you wandered off, again give a new start and see how many breaths you can continue. Again scattered off. And mind become wandering and lazy. Whenever you get a chance, consider yourself as a beginner. So, Jnanarama put it as Adhikammika Yogavachara. Adhikammika means the beginner. Adhikammika Vipassaka. So therefore, the kilesas, the defilement can break it off, but it is your duty to reshape it again. And again it is broken off. Again you reshape, just like a Lego set. When you drop it, it goes into the pieces. Again you can start with a new creation. When that happens, you are the winner. So therefore, if you are going to assume yourself as a senior yogi, I know how to do Anapana, I know how to know, that's a failure. Because they are leading to disappointment. So have an appointment with the disappointment, so no disappointment. Daily expect any trouble can happen. Each and everyone is valid. Each and everyone is realistic. Each and everyone is under your nose. But occasionally you find you can implement your will and then assume a beginner's mind. So that's a kind of a humbleness. Understand the profundity of the task we are doing. Whenever you are going to assume something, that is, you are going to end up with the frustration, end up with the tension. So therefore, the Sopaka, the Sunita, these characters, nothing to assume. They are back at home and they are on the basic ground, so easily they can catch it. But whenever you try to assume, I am a senior yogi, that day I had that kind of experience, this day I must have this and that, that is the really undermining thing. So, general instruction is, develop the beginner's mind, and then it is like a plaything. You are just playing with it. Don't accept the seriousness. Ultimately, that will make you a combination. It will teach you through your trial and error what is the appropriate technology, that your ways and means, your tools, they are the most important than what you find in the book. Even though it is the Buddha's technique, but what you assimilated through yourself is more intrinsic. So that is basically say beginner's mind.
Bhante, during walking meditation, I kept my hands by the side of my body. At one time, it became very heavy, so I kept both hands on my hip. Continued to do my way and meditation. After listening to you, now I realized I should not have reached keeping my hands on the hip. But Bhante, can you please explain what I should have exactly done at that time?
That statement is not clear. Maybe Sunil is not clear. So therefore you may repeat it, please. I missed.
Okay. Bhante, during walking meditation, I kept my hands by the side of my body. At one time it became very heavy, so I kept both hands on my hip and continued.
On my hip.
And continued to do my walking and meditation. After listening to you, now I realized I should not have reacted by keeping my hands on the hip. But Bhante, can you please explain what I should have exactly done at that time?
No, of course that you are not supposed to make a reaction. But if a reaction happens, accept it. That is, I have reacted. It is not a crime. It is not something to kill you. Something happened, never mind. And next time you can do away with. But even then, you feel the heaviness. And then keeping the hand in the hip, you know that if you know the process, causative factor is the heaviness. And I had the intention to release this heaviness. And my body knowledge suggested to keep it on the hip. So if you do it in a slow manner and see this process, and that is also, of course it is happening in the walking meditation, but that is also reality. So therefore, when Nissarana used to say, whenever do that kind of a movement, you find a justification. That is, why I am doing it. I am doing due to heaviness. And you know you are not supposed to react, but now it is something happening. So it is happening with the consultation of your body knowledge. And then the body come out with this. Okay. That is also happening. Then when it is doing, if you do slowly, changing the posture, and if you can account it for, if you can bookkeeping, when it's changing happen, no harm. And when you go forward and become an establish and steadfast mindfulness happen, you can see before the happiness arises, the mindfulness. During the heaviness, you changed the posture and again the mindfulness. In between, there were some ungovernable, uncontrollable situation. But if you can sure it is at the beginning also, mindfulness at the end of the mindfulness, in between, no defilements. That is what the Upanishad is going to say. While you are in the breath, the sound happens. Mind go to the sound. And after entertaining it, come back. And come back and again back at the breath. And if it is the mindfulness, going out and listening the sound is no much of a distraction. And you, while walking, you feel the heaviness. You adopted and reacted and assumed and adjusted. And even after the adjusting, if you can go with the left leg and the right leg, no, it is like a, within a sentence, if you are putting a parenthesis and put something, even that is available or not, sentence itself has a meaning. Within the parenthesis, the additional thing, which is not much related to the sentences, you put between the brackets. But even if it is not there, sentence is having. So likewise, this is the thing you did, that which is not supposed to do, still if it is happening slowly and mindfully, that itself is not a crime. But the thing is, in this statement, it is not been mentioned, before this heaviness happened, was that particular person with the left leg and right leg. After the adjustments, was it helpful for me to readjust my time, re-establish my mindful in the right and left leg? If that is given, full marks. But I have to assume these things now. And then I am giving the explanation. But important thing is, before you feel the heaviness of the legs, hands, have you been with the left leg and right leg in the consistency? And after doing the adjustment, was it again helpful you to come back to the same track to the left leg and the right leg? If that is given, whole essay is complete. But this is a very middle episode is being given. But it is like a storytelling rather than a meditative experience. If you are to give the meditation, you are to tell how do you do without troubles. And after adjusting to the trouble, what it comes to be. And these two are important. If it is given, very good. Even otherwise, try to keep account, bookkeeping, how it is happening. If it is so, it is not a crime. Still you can put it in a productive way.
Bhante, today at one point I could not meditate at all. I walked, I sat, but nothing worked. So I stopped meditating and had a cup of tea. I struggled for over 1 hour. This was just before you came. Please tell me what I should do next time.
I mean, even I tell or not, you do something. No problem. But the thing is, when the mind is not settled, when the mind is telling it is not meditating, can that particular person says that distraction made me not aware that I am living? Made me that I am not awake, I am not unconscious. So trouble is there. But trouble indicates I am living, I am conscious, I am not asleep. Of course, it is not Anapanasati, it is not walking meditation, but this is the subject. This is the object of meditation, but that object also you can put into say, I would say, more than Anapana, this is make you more awake, more living, more unsleepy. You can't sleep with this kind of situation. Never you fall into sleep. You cannot, you are unconscious and you are living. So therefore, don't try to be worried about the object. But whatever the object, try to be here, now I am. I am living, I am unconscious, I am conscious, I am not sleeping. Now you are based upon a muck, a dirty thing, unwanted thing. But these things, even this is a distraction, this distraction can't make you, can't pull you out. I am here, now I am. To say I am living, I am not sleepy, I am not unconscious. Ask that distraction if possible to pull you away from that base. Not possible. That is what you say, mindfulness is more powerful than the defilement. But the thing is, attribution is completely wrong. The commentary is completely wrong, telling it's an utter failure. No, it's an utter success. Even the distractions happen, you are not dead. What a nice game. And when such a distraction happens, you can't sleep. And you are quite aware, you are not unconscious. You can't do away with that because these kind of neurotic situations keep you awake. When you are in the breath and all the kind of thing, you can be unmindful and mind is going out, but it's mindfulling here because it is a challenge. It is shaky situation. So therefore, whatever it may be, if you are looking from that perspective, you can understand once mindfulness develop, it never leave your side. It is credible. It is doing the task, but you expect the serenity, concentration, and peace and kind of thing. But this awareness is much, much higher than that concentration. So it's an utter failure from the concentration point of view. But the awareness point of view, now only you understand what does it mean by the life. What does it mean by who am I? And it is not always Christmas, going up and down, but still you can account for. So therefore next time also, let it happen. Try to be aware. It is being present to the unpleasantness. The Buddha says sometimes breath appears pleasant and unpleasant. Both are valid facets. So this is not the breath, but unpleasantness happens. It is also part and parcel of your life. This is a part and parcel of your meditative object. So the day you welcome it, the day you are ready to accept it, its inflicted nature will be reduced. But if you are looking at it with the long face and as a failure, it will be very sour. But if you accept it, it is also part and parcel of the life. It is a truth. It is happening under my very nose. It is not a daydreaming. It is not a hallucination. It is not some mind-made thing, reality. This is how you broaden or diversify the mindfulness. So try to accept them. It as far as it is not you, it created not by you, not by your intention. It is something happened. So this is the place you have to be aware, see things as they are rather than expectation, rather than reaction. This is something very real. So therefore, interpretation is wrong, but the observation and the presentation is very nice.
Venerable Sir, I have tried, but I find I cannot observe the in-breath and out-breath for some time, for more than a few seconds. My mind tends to go quite naturally to the rest of the body. The known skeleton and the seen hair, nails, teeth and the skin, their characteristics are noted. Then I tend to reflect on the noble truths, especially the first two, and then the mind goes to the sense doors, the defilements and aggregates in me. My mind is alert in this process most of the time. Am I going in the wrong direction? If so, what should I do?
So, more than the noting, this is a contemplation. For this contemplation, you can do any time. It is a kind of a conditioning of the mind. You can think about what you have learned and you have put into like that. But each time you do it, you prevent your mind to go back to the reality. Because this contemplation, the calculation and theoretical, the calculation is very fantastic, fantasizing, very real appear like. That will prevent you from the breath, prevent you from the direct touch. And it says, it's an intermediate as a sentence, my mind is go to the rest of the body. If the rest of the body, if you feel, what you feel, it's valid. But what you contemplate is not vipassana. We can say contemplation is a poison to vipassana. It's a kind of a thinking. For that, not necessary to come and sit on the cushion and in the meditation hall. You can do anything at any time. But this is just to get the direct touch of something happening under your very nose. Maybe the whole body, maybe the breath, maybe your sitting posture. So that means the concept and reality is not being really discriminated. It's a concept has taken as a reality, and reality has been completely neglected as it sounds. So therefore try to be with the reality, even if it is unpleasant. Reality is much anchoring and very, very profound than thinking. So the philosophizing, thinking without developing the mindfulness is a wastage of time. It is not a crime. It's a wastage of time.
Most Reverend Bhante, I do the Anapanasati meditation sitting on a very low stool. After some time, the breath cannot be perceived at all. I keep my mind at the tip of the nose where the breath was felt earlier. On some days, while waiting in this manner, my body tends downwards till my forehead touches my knee. This happens automatically, without my knowledge. I am fully awake and I cannot account for this situation. However much I make up my mind, I cannot stop this from happening. When meditating in a crowd, it is a bit embarrassing. I humbly seek your advice on how to tackle this situation.
So this is, of course, it's a difficult situation, no unexpected situation. But you can see, otherwise you are all the time pausing. This is a natural state of the body. When the mind is absorbed into something, body is collapsing like. So when you see a natural death, you can see people falling into exactly the universal format. But if you keep the corpse on the coffin, it is what the undertaker is liking, not what you like. So it is very straightforward, symmetrical, and it will be like a decent. But any fossil, you see, they are in the collapse. And exactly the same, you are in the womb. Exactly the same of your ear. So this is the collapse form. So that means you understand body is ungovernable. When and where possible, you try to be very symmetrical and very fixed and straightforward, good. So in the meditation, each and everyone has to undergo, not in a drastic like this, some kind of a collapsing of the posture. That means you are taking the leave from the body, and body goes to the normal state. So many think it is best to go and sit in isolation or in one particular or separate place. But then it can easily lead into the sleepiness. But in a group, you have your shame and your moral shame and the moral fear. Therefore, soon you understand it, again the body becomes straight, and therefore moral shame and the moral fear, it is working constructively here. That is why Mahasi Sayadaw has introduced this group meditation. So when the first time this happened in Sri Lanka, the established bodies found fault with the Mahasi system or Vipassana. They are telling body become, sometimes jerks happen, heat happen, collapsing happen. They told it's completely abnormal. But Mahasi Sayadaw explain it, it's telling, this is the nature of the body. Verily, under your very mindfulness, you see body is going back to its own nature. So I explained this to Vibhanga, who was a disciple of Pavok Sayadaw, and we were translated a lot of books. Then when I am talking like this, he told there's a one Sayadaw in Mandalay, about 200-300 miles away from Yangon. He says, if you are not undergoing that kind of a thing, you are not a good successful meditator. It's a very good sign. The situation is beyond your control, and you know that is not the desirable posture. And he says that Sayadaw accept this kind of yogis. There's a one flat for the females and one flat for the male. When they are sitting and walking, you can see all the kind of breakdowns in the postures. So when we are passing that point, Akanyas, do you wish to go and see this place? This is the place that Sayadaw has put up with. He says this is the way meditation is unrevealing. It is unwinding. It's the folding up. So mind also sometimes goes under some kind of episodes. Body also going under. So therefore those who have not meditated, they judge them in a completely different way. Anyone who has meditated, undergone, they only can sympathize with kind of people. So therefore, at the beginning it appears like completely blank, completely unmindful or absent-minded kind of thing. But when I am reporting that to Pandita Sayadaw, he told after awakening, it goes number of episodes, you collapse again, you come up again, you collapse again, you come up, and then the brightness appear, and you can continue for sometimes 35 minutes, 45 minutes, like continuous. So I told Sayadaw, after this kind of nodding, the mind become bright and fully balanced concentration and the energy, wisdom and the faith, and then you can predict, I can now sit about 30-40 minutes. So this is my case it was. Then he told, expecting that kind of a clarity, let the body to do any kind of thing, and that is a preliminary thing. And what happens is later, you can awaken into this, the collapse situation. And even then he says, don't get involved. You by your understanding and mindfulness, body will naturally come back to the state that is the balance between the concentration and the energy. If the concentration is too much and lack of energy, this kind of a collapse happens. But the thing is, once you develop, you can understand how body is going to collapse, and you can see, how to call the early signs. More and more concentrated and mind become rigid, not the rigid but beyond your control, and collapsing can happen. And halfway sometimes you can get up, it's getting up naturally. So therefore you have to expect this as a kind of evolution, kind of a metamorphosis in the meditation. One part is there, it is proving whatever it may be, body is not under your control. Can't help. So therefore you have to face it. Otherwise, so when we were in, we had one retreat in Kanduboda, before we put up this place, under the help of Venerable Pemasiri, and he says, anyone who is sitting symmetrically is not meditating, pausing. When you are really meditating, other person can see he is no more in the body. Body is in the natural form. It is never symmetrical, and you can feel. And that is what you can see in Anuradhapura Mahamevunavuyana, the Buddha statue. You see, contemplation is fully inward. When you are looking at that statue, you can see it is fully concentrated. Appear like the person is not within the body. So let that it happen. When I was in Pandita Ramadevasa, when a senior monk, he started shaking, his Parkinson. And right round his body, sweating. Whole the floor is wetted. And he humbly went and asked the shadow that may I sit in the room? No. Second time also asked, no. Third time also he asked. Then shadow asked, why you asking like that? Then I am a senior monk. I am sitting in front of the monks. But I feel sweating and jerking, like Parkinson. And right round the whole, the wooden floor, wet. Then he is all, if you feel like that you can sit in the room, I can understand the thing. But you have never shaken like me. When I am shaking, other materials can't sit on the ground. The whole ground is moving. That. Moving. Then he asked his particular Dayaka, telling him, I feel this is something I have to go through, but I am disturbing other yogis. What can I do? He has taken this shadow, it's not the Parkinson, but Pandita shadow is disciple, one of the disciples. Put up a temporary hut and put some straw and ask him to jump as you like, no problem. Then he says, you don't believe. I had a continuous meditation and then only it disappeared. So there are some kind of a mishap, some kind of a abnormality. Abnormality can happen. So without that, very difficult to see the life, see the profundity of Dhamma. Life is not as you like, it is not a bed of red roses. In the meditation you have to go through. But don't expect them to happen, that will happen. Try to keep the track of the mindfulness, and one day mindfulness will give the permanent answer rather than going to do involved job or reaction or assuming. Definitely mindfulness will give the answer. Do it with the confidence.
Venerable Bhante, over a period of time, I have tried to distinguish what my primary object is. Is it the breath or rise and fall of the abdomen? I then realize when I feel in a union of the two, in other words, the act of breathing in and out, this is one fluid movement.
What? I can't listen.
Yeah.
This is one.
Yeah. I then realize what I feel is the unison of the two. That means the rise and fall of the abdomen and the breath. In other words, the act of breathing in and out. This is one fluid movement.
Fluid. Yeah, okay, carry on.
This is one fluid movement. I can be mindful watching this till the mind becomes reasonably tranquil and free from defilement. I become like a log. When the mind has settled down, I attempt to see the individual characteristics of the breath. Soon as I do so, the mind disperses and I lose the tranquility I had. May thoughts come in and I want to get up and go. A, please advise me what I am doing wrong. B, am I more disposed to samatha?
No, I think there are details enough to say that you are selecting an object. You are pointing an object in order to get the peace of mind and let the mind to be inside your body. As far as the mind is inside the body, whether you see the individual characteristic of your object, whether you see the difference between in-breath and out-breath, whether you see the difference between the rising and falling and the in-breath, out-breath, not necessary. The mind, the task has already completed. So if you are going to still worry about, I can't see the in-breath and out-breath and the rising and falling, I can't see the difference between the in-breath and out-breath, I can't see the individual characteristics, that is unwanted. But you have to see the peace of mind. You have to see the solitude and let go. At a time, of course, again the breath can happen gross. Again sometimes rising and falling can happen, whatever may be. But you have to appreciate now mind is not in the sensuous pleasure. It is not with defilements, not with the Nissarana. It is verily within your body. And let it is to be seasoned in that. Instead of walking and asking, waking him by theoretically asking the individual characteristic of the rising and falling kind of thing. If the mind is not calming down only, you have to use this technique. If the mind is calm and well focused within the body, why should you go? Why should you go for noting? Why should you go for individual characteristic? Everything is to get this calm situation. Once the calm situation, if you are going to do this kind of a noting and searching, definitely as mentioned, your calmness will be disturbed, will be agitated. So therefore, in a theoretical, in the group teaching, I have to teach, if your mind is not settling, go in detail into the primary object. If the mind is settling, you have to, appreciate it, season it as much as possible. Ultimately mind will find, the mindfulness will find the path. But here unwanted interruption with searching about the individual characteristics, searching about difference between the rising, falling and the breathing. So that means that, agitation, putting theory forward, I can sympathize the situation, because when you are listening to talks, you feel like searching about this individual characteristic. But that means you don't know the utility value of searching individual characteristic. You do not know the utility value of isolating the rising and falling with the in-breath and out-breath. Everything is to get the mind inside to the body. If the mind is already in the inside the body, let the mind to be seasoned in, and then mind will find a path. Mind will find a way out.
Bhante, that is my question. I understand now what you are saying. So when you kind of reach that like a log you become, I suppose you just wait and what will be. I don't try to do anything.
So that is the very first statement, the last few sentences at the end of sitting meditation in the instruction. If you happen to see your be here and now, don't go in search of technical aspect. Don't go into analysis. Just entertain that you are here and now. And there, whether you go through into the breath or through the rising and falling, never mind. Because you have go to the destiny. And then mind knows the way out. Instead of imposing rising and falling, imposing in breath and out breath, searching the beginning, the middle and the end, searching the individual characters, now mind has already gone to the common characters.
So it doesn't have to follow that sequence?
No. Even if you are following the sequence, two people not following the same episodes. This is the common formula we are giving. That does not indicate you have to go in the linear system. It has its your own ways and means, and sometimes you jump few steps, telescope. Sometimes you expand some space. So, very difficult to give a technical information for fitting into each and everyone. So you have to use your own rational knowledge or your own ways and means and trial and error or experimentation. Then only it becomes your own meditation.
Similarly, Bhante, I was doing walking meditation and I came to a good point of concentration where I felt I was on auto. I was outside and it was just happening. Once again I tried to do the left and the right and I just lost it.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, so I should have just let it be.
Yeah, once the baby sleeps, you have to stop the lullaby. Even after sleeping, if you're going to keep on lullaby, you are waking it up, definitely. So that is the example I have already given. So lullaby is to sleep the baby, to put into sleep. And once it is slept, you have to slowly withdraw the lullabying and the moving. Otherwise, you are very disturbing that poor baby. So, let us discuss how that can be taught in a talk, unless otherwise a discussion. If it is so, I have to speak on this particular place for years. You can't go ahead. Because each and everyone expects specific information to the last letter. It is justifiable from the yogi's point of view, because this is a very involved, tricky thing. But you have to, whatever maybe, you have to run a risk. You have to assimilate your own ways and means. That is why the Buddha says a noble quest. Within that, anything you do, no problem, because you are going to get the pros and cons. And 1,001 experimentation, you will understand. For me, for that climate, for that posture, this is. When the climate changes, posture changes, something other. Well, so therefore it says that when you are giving a learning lesson for driving, you know 4 gears. So when to change from the second gear to third gear, can you write technical writing? And you may write in the flat ground. And when this car is climbing with the heavy load, when to change from the second to third, maybe your third to second change. The second to third to second change is not a backward decision. Because the car is assuming the mountain. When it's a downhill, second to third, no much of a problem. But still, if it's a heavy, you are being asked to go by a heavy gear. Because situation is under control with the heavy gear. So how to write a technical diagram, technical essay on changing of the gear. So therefore you have to run your own risk. You have to do it. Of course sometimes you do wrong things. But to be a skillful driver, not everything you can learn in the classroom. So this is well accepted, well sympathized. And in a discussion we understand, Even one day you are successful, next day you will be utter failure. No problem.
Yeah, this is the last question. Venerable Sir, during a session of walking meditation, I felt pins and needles on my left foot. After a short session of walking meditation, I started to feel pins and needles on my right foot. I felt this experience a number of times as I undertook walking meditation. Is this experience normal? What does it indicate?
So if it is happening under your very nose, and if it is happening again and again, whether I say normal or not, you have to confirm it. Of course, I can say for the sake of confidence, yes, it is something normal. But I am telling, do it again and again to see whether it's a camouflage, or it's a dreaming, or it's a mind-made, or it's really the heat bubbles and cold bubbles, needles, they are running. And even if you wipe it and see, still it is there. But is it due to meditation? I would say no. It is always there, but you are not looking at your leg, you are looking at others' legs. Then you can't see. That is what you call eccentric. If you are really concerned, wherever you focus the attention, it is magnified. And ultimately the magnified picture is magnified. Picture is not the normal one. It's when you go into something, penetrate into, complete world is there. All four elements are there. Everything is there, so unbelievable. So that is why that unbelievability, entertain doubts, and these are the what you call defilements. This is the definition of defilements. We are blocking yourself by just mere entertain doubts, being it is so under your nose, it is so obvious, the doubt can still be entertained. Doubt is such a shameless fellow. It's an unwanted thing you accept without any doubt. But the real thing happening under your very nose, still the doubt can happen. That is why we call doubt is a defilement. So you have to understand which is to be supported and which is to be negated. That you have to develop by your trial and error. And that is why everyone respect this yogi's life. Because he or she is doing a really essential thing without understanding this machine, without understanding who am I, whatever the decision we are going to take, whatever the influential thing we are going to do is leading to chaos. So this is a kind of understanding. In walking meditation, ultimately this become a healing energy, cosmic energy. You develop such a potential at the end of your tip, on the fingers, and the vibration you feel. Accumulated vibration you feel, and with that vibration if you touch other person, he also can feel the shock. Electric kind of a thing. So that is how mind become, the healing process going to happen. But the thing is, the doubt stop it, everything. Whenever you entertain doubt, the whole process, whole polarization will be disturbed. So, without entertaining doubts, no one can go. Everyone is having. Some people entertain long time, some people entertain little time. It depends on the personality trait. Okay, that's the end of the written questions. If there are no more any other question, we can sum up the session.
Venerable Bhante, my meditation object is breathe in and out breath. So whenever I feel that my breath, my mindfulness is with the breath, I feel that it is with the thoughts. So immediately I bring it back to the meditation object. Because my sole aim is to watch the mind, watch the breath, so that I know my mind is not with any other thing, so that I am not committing any volitional formations. So I just want to know whether this is, I'm trying to, without trying to see the rupa and the material side, am I doing something wrong to by watching the mind?
No, that I can't understand whether you try to watch the mind or try to watch only the breath. Which one is your main aim?
My main aim is to watch the breath with the idea of stopping it going to the mind to make volitional formations.
That is that you try to keep as much as possible in the breath.
Yeah.
Are you successful or it is a failure?
Most of the time I'm successful.
No, if it is so, carry on. So if it is a failure and going to give distractions and discouragement, then it's something wrong. So due to your, strategy, ways and means, if you find you are more and more face to face with the breath, you are more familiarizing the breath, no problem. But if you are entertaining doubts, if you are going through an agony, you are doing something impossible, then you are the very first person suffering, torturing, burden. So if it is so, you have to reconsider the strategy. If it is successful, please carry it. Okay, if there are no more any other questions, we are going to sum up the common interviews. So I would like to thank you very much everyone for the participation. Siru Dinadama Theruvan Saranai.